Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.
A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome aboard. Welcome to the edition of the Pan-African Pyramid show here at Fairway Hotel every Friday from 5 to 8 p.m. And the recorded version runs on NBS Television, our partner media sponsor, on Saturday from 4 to 5 p.m. The speaker is Andrew Irumba Katusabe, and this is the People's Pan-African Parliament. We sit here every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. and the entrance is absolutely free. Ladies and gentlemen, for the last 6 years, this is going to be the 7th one, we organized Pan-African Global Awards. We are the only organization in the world, not in Africa. We are the only Pan-African organization that organizes Pan-African Awards for Africans, or for Pan-Africans in that matter. We are the only organization in the world, not in Africa. There has never been a Pan-African award organized by Africans for Pan-Africa. It has never been there. We are going to be organizing the 7th edition, and we are looking forward to meeting most of our brothers, both on the continent and those in the diaspora. Ayoki Matthew from Washington, D.C. will be coming here. Comrade Joshua Maponga, my senior elder. Ladies and gentlemen, we saw an arrest warrant against the Israeli leaders, and to be specific, Netanyahu could be heading to ICC. ICC seeks an arrest warrant for Israeli and Hamas leaders over alleged war crimes in Gaza. The chief prosecutor of the International Crimes Court, ICC, has applied for arrest warrants against top Israeli and Hamas leaders for alleged war crimes. ICC prosecutor Karim Khan said on Monday, that is last week, this week, that his office had applied for arrest warrants for Israeli and Hamas leaders for alleged crimes committed during the Hamas-led October 7th attack on southern Israel and Israel's subsequent war on Gaza. Khan announced his office had reasonable grounds to believe that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Yoav Gallant bear criminal responsibility for war crimes and crimes against humanity. Khan also applied for arrest warrants for 3 Hamas leaders, Yahya Sinwar, Ismail Haniyeh, and Muhammad Diab Ibrahim al-Masri, also known as Dave, for war crimes and crimes against humanity. Following the announcement, Netanyahu responded and said the ICC decision was a disgrace and an attack on Israel. And here he says, I reject with disgust the comparison of the prosecutor in The Hague between democratic Israel and the mass murderers of Hamas. With what audacity do you compare Hamas that murdered, burned, butchered, decapitated, raped, and kidnapped our brothers and sisters as the Israeli army soldiers fighting a just war? Also commenting on the development, Israeli President Isaac Herzog said any attempt to draw parallels between these atrocious terrorists and democratically elected government of Israel working to fulfill its duty to defend and protect its citizens entirely in adherence to the principles of international law is outrageous and cannot be accepted by anyone. Meanwhile, Hamas denounced the ICC prosecutor's decision to seek arrest warrants against its leaders, accusing Karim Khan of trying to equate the victim with executioner. The group said it demanded the cancellation of the request, adding that Khan's application for arrest warrants against Netanyahu and Gallant had come 7 months too late. The government media office in Gaza has welcomed the ICC's decision to seek arrest warrants for Israeli leaders and also denounced the decision to apply for warrants for Hamas leaders. They say, we appreciate the decision of the prosecutor of International Criminal Court to issue arrest warrants for 2 Zionist war criminals. Read part of their statement. We see the issuance of these memorandums as a legal step in the right direction, despite the fact that they came late. The office also said it deplores the fact that this step was accompanied by the issuance of similar decisions against some of the leaders of their people. Additionally, US President Joe Biden called the application for an arrest warrant for Netanyahu and Gallant as outrageous. Let me be clear. This is Joe Biden asking. Let me be clear. Whatever this prosecutor might imply, there is no equivalence, none, between Israel and Hamas. Meanwhile, Human Rights Watch welcomed the ICC decision and said victims of serious abuses in Israel and Palestine have faced a war of impunity for decades. This principled first step by the prosecutor opens the door to the responsible for the atrocities committed in recent months to answer for their actions at a fair trial. ICC member countries should stand ready to resolutely protect the ICC's independence as hostile pressure is likely to increase while the ICC judges consider Prosecutor Karim Khan's request. Ladies and gentlemen, we have heard against the will of America, ICC is actually issuing arrest warrants against Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And we have also heard that America has already come out. Biden is calling it an outrageous act. They believe that they are correct.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.
I think this is a very up-to-date topic because I think some hours ago, the International Court of Justice issued orders against Israel to stop the Rafah war. They also issued orders against Israel to immediately withdraw. Stop the war and also to withdraw. And that is from the International Court of Justice, which is at par with this International Criminal Court. ICC. The International Criminal Court handles the criminal aspects of international matters, while the International Court of Justice handles the civil matters. Now, Right Honorable Speaker, the International Court of Justice, the International Criminal Court
of Justice.
Yeah, International Criminal Court.
ICC.
ICC, the one that handles criminal matters in the world, is one of the courts that has got least enforceable power. No power to enforce.
No power?
No power. When I was a state attorney in 2002,
you were a state attorney in Uganda?
Yeah, Minister of Justice. And I was the state attorney, luckily enough, asked to review the question whether Uganda should become a member of the International Criminal Court.
ICC.
Yes. Right Honorable Speaker, I remember opposing.
You opposed?
I opposed Uganda being a member of the ICC. Why? Because even then, I could clearly see that it is a court in which there is no iota of justice except politics, international politics. It's just a political arena. It has never beaten, it has never enforced any order. You remember there was an ICC warrant issued against Bashir?
Yes.
Now, what happens when an international warrant is issued against you? Because you see, the international community has no international police to enforce any warrant. Only thing you have to do is to move among your friends. You go to a country where you have solidarity with the leader and you are sure you will not be arrested. We saw Bashir coming to Uganda. Seven never had him arrested. We saw Bashir going to South Africa, and South Africa never had him arrested. Now, South Africa is the nation that refused to enforce the warrant of arrest against Bashir over the genocide in Darfur. Now South Africa has accused Israel over the genocide in Gaza. Now they will be on the side of trying to see who will enforce the arrest warrant. And that's why you can see, I tell you that the ICC court is just a political arena. But what is it, this court? This court was formed and came into effect on the 1st July 2002, after what is called the Rome Statute. Now, the Rome Statute is when a group of countries came together and said we should have an international court to try international criminals. But from day one, it had no effect. Why? Because the superpower nation of the time, the United States of America, refused to be a member state. Even as we talk now, the United States of America is not a member of the International Criminal Court.
That's correct.
And so, it will not enforce.
But it influences what happens at the ICC.
Exactly. But it will not enforce any order.
Through the back door.
Yes, it will not enforce any order against Benjamin Netanyahu. And I think Netanyahu only visits America. I've never seen him visit any other country freely. I've seen him in America almost all the time. So, it's a warrant that's not going to be enforced. Now, in Uganda, much as the International Criminal Court started on 1st July 2002, in 2010, the Parliament of Uganda on the 10th March domesticated the Rome Statute, meaning it made that Rome Statute part of the laws of Uganda. And that's why when you go to Kololo, you'll find there is a division called International War Crimes Division. That's where they try international terrorists. Now, for countries like Uganda that have domesticated, in other words, they have made the ICC statute a domestic affair, they can enforce arrests when those people come. Say Netanyahu visiting here. Okay, Netanyahu has never visited Uganda, I think. But then that is the territory of his friend. I think it is common knowledge that on the African continent, the best friend of Netanyahu or even Israel is the President Museveni. So even if he visited again, I don't think the Ugandan government will arrest him because of that warrant. Now, Israel itself is not a member of the International Criminal Court. He has never signed the treaty to become a member, to subject their soldiers to the court. Actually, the International Criminal Court, if you look at the member states, there are these poor African countries which sign anything from Europe without reasoning. One of the reasons I gave when I was the state attorney opposing the ICC come to Uganda, I said, any action of the Ugandan forces which became criminal would lead to an arrest warrant against the president of the nation, being a commander-in-chief. And, Right Honorable Speaker, when the international community is tired of you, they will plan this international warrant against you.
Hey.
Why?
When they are tired of...
When they are tired of you, look, when they were tired of Bush, of Saddam, ICC warrant was issued. Tired of Bashir, ICC warrant was issued. Tired of Putin, ICC warrant. So, in essence, the ICC warrant is almost automatic when the forces of a nation attack another. And you see, if we are not very careful, even in Uganda here, our president is a very, very, very competent ICC warrant president.
Candidate.
Who
when the West gets tired of him, I can assure you they will issue that warrant. Because look at the episodes of UPDF in Congo, UPDF Somalia, UPDF South Sudan. When you are still a friend of the American government, they will not remember those things. They will not even issue a warrant. But once you start falling out with them, they'll open those books. And the books they will open are years back. Because, as the Baganda say, Omusango teguvunda, criminal cases don't expire. So, anytime you see a warrant issued, it is about the politics of the situation, not necessarily the crime. Why do I say that? You see this ICC arrest warrant coming now against Netanyahu. Why didn't it come out during the Nakba? Why didn't it come out in the previous onslaughts against the Palestinian people? So it is more about
right
the
now.
politics. Yes, it's more about the politics now, and to pressure the population of Israel to do away with Netanyahu. And I think in that line they are almost succeeding, because the demonstrations in Tel Aviv against Netanyahu are actually more than the demonstrations by the Palestinians. Not so? If you look at the demonstrations. So, Right Honorable Speaker, my take on this arrest warrant is that it's political, it is unenforceable by any state, it is weakened further by the fact that the USA is not a member state and is the main backer of Israel. Also, the second thing that weakens this warrant is the fact that the warrant has also been issued against a non-state actor. What is a non-state actor? It is an actor like Hamas. Hamas is not a government. It's not a government elected by the people with MPs, with arms of government. It is a freedom group or freedom fighting group as seen by others, and a terrorist organization as seen by others. Now here is for the first time in history that we are having a warrant issued against an informal group. A warrant has been issued against a group that does not have an address, let us say. Does not have an address. Does not have a formal commander-in-chief appointed at what rank. That is also a weakening of this arrest warrant. So, the last point is that in international law, and which has got no police to effect these warrants, normally the strongest remedy is when the country, the state, is also found liable in civil matters. For example, when Ugandan forces invaded the DR Congo, there was the option of the ICC issuing an arrest warrant against the president of Uganda. They did not go to that option. They went to the ICJ, which passed damages on the Uganda government for invading Congo. So, Right Honorable Speaker, sir, I would have thought that instead of the International Criminal Court issuing this warrant, they would have gone to the ICJ and had a ruling, like the ruling Congo government had against Uganda for invasion of Congo. We have to pay billions of shillings. And that one is very enforceable because it's a civil award. So maybe they could have gone to the ICJ to get awards for the destruction of infrastructure in that land, because when you issue an ICC warrant, you are pursuing the person You're pursuing Netanyahu as a person, as a prime minister.
Yes.
And all opinion polls show that Netanyahu will not win the next elections. In the next 3 weeks, we'll have another government. I think you have been following. Anytime that government is collapsing. So the warrant will serve is only personal. Yeah. The other option of international
But now,
justice.
Professor, how does because this is done against America's interest, how does the international politics play now at the ICC? And also, if you could also put in the context of South Africa. South Africa is the one that took this man to ICC. How does it play internationally?
I have my reservations about you. You saw the presentation of the South African legal team. You know, South Africa to me is still a nation of the white people. In most aspects. Even you saw all the lawyers except the representative. So South Africa is still a white nation.
A white nation?
Yes, in most aspects. Still pursuing interests. Pursuing interests of those who brought that system, the apartheid system. Yes. But Right Honorable Speaker, so to me, this ICC warrant is yet another level of politics. It will not work. It will stop there. It will not be enforced. Netanyahu needs just to move among his friends. He's about to leave power. After he leaves power, the case collapses. Are you noticing that in criminal cases, they are pursuing the commander-in-chief? So as soon as the commander-in-chief is not in power, you have a problem with that criminal case. But if it was the state sued for, like as I said, in the civil matters, like what happened to President Museveni and the invasion of Congo, it remains perpetual. Even if Museveni is not in power, even if it takes 50 years, we shall still pay that.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.
Mr. Chair, when we look at the formation of the ICC and its objectives, the objectives could be having a point, but the issue of implementation of what is supposed to be made to do may be questionable. One could regard the International Criminal Court as a barking dog, which is good at barking dog, but when it comes to biting, it bites selectively.
Dominic Ongwen.
You see, it's like having a dog at your home. When it becomes good at barking, but when it comes to biting, it bites selectively. When certain thieves come from a certain home, it doesn't bite. When they come from another home, it bites. So I think the mentality, the cognitive mentality of that dog can be highly questionable. Because if you're a dog, you are barking, then bite. Don't bite selectively. So we are aware that the potential candidates for ICC have been in Africa. Actually, most of the leaders, Africa takes the lion's share. And as far as the indictment of the ICC is concerned. Now, we very much know that the International Criminal Court investigates and is warranted to try individuals charged with the gravest crimes of concern to the international community. And there are 4 important components of those crimes. And these are acts of genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity, and crimes of aggression. we know very much that it is governed by an international treaty known as the Rome Statute, which was adopted by a vote of over 120 members against the 7. You know, the 7 members who refused to sign or to adopt the Rome Statute: China, Iraq, Israel, Libya, Qatar, US, and Yemen. Now, the ICC only prosecutes individuals and not states, especially those who are non-actors. But how does it reach to the conclusion of prosecuting the individuals in the non-state party? Mr. Chair, a citizen of a non-state party who commits war crimes, crimes against humanity, genocide, can only be indicted by the ICC on the request of that country, that state, that non-state party. In other words, a country may not, an individual may commit a crime, but if the country, if a state has not requested for an investigation by the ICC, then that country, that individual will not be prosecuted.
Of course, you have to show cause. You have to show cause.
Exactly.
It works exactly like in Uganda here. Yeah.
No, Uganda is a state party.
No, I'm saying.
Yes.
You know, police can bypass you if the matter is civil. If it's criminal, police will arrest you immediately. But if the matter is civil, police can look at you until you come to them and you sue. After suing, then they will issue a warrant of arrest, then they will come for you.
Exactly. Because each institution has its own mandate. Mr. Chair, you are a Ugandan citizen. It is not upon you that every day you find out, you go to court to find out, do I have a case, Mr. Judge? You wait until court invites you. You don't go to court by yourself.
Hey.
Otherwise, you don't go to court to ask, Chief Magistrate, do I have a case today? No, you wait for the court to invite you, and they invite you through summons if you have no case there. So, ICC should wait for the state party, the non-state party, which is not which does not have jurisdiction over it, to invite it for action. But now what is happening? Now, we know that US is not a state party to ICC. And I think even Israel. Now, and when you look at the UN Security Council, it has permanently exempted US personnel from prosecution for the activities as participants. And we very much know that American interests, especially in Israel, are very solid. And by putting those whatever the sanctions and indictment on Israeli Prime Minister, it means they are jeopardizing the interests of the Americans. Given that recently we saw that it was pushing for the ceasefire. And you remember, Mr. Chair, it created even the cross-border at Rafah, where it was targeting even the delay of the shipment of the weaponry in those areas. Now, if you come, like ICC has done, to impose indictment on the Prime Minister, the Israeli Prime Minister, it means you are jeopardizing the ceasefire process. And therefore, the Hamas, who are world over known as terrorist groups, and being that they occupy Palestine, and Palestine, as the professor put it very clearly, it's not a state. It's not a state. The Hamas are just a group of people who are occupying Palestine, but they don't have MPs, they don't have parliament, they don't have, no, it's not a state. It has been considered as a terrorist group. And therefore, for me, I see it would have been better for the ICC to target their teeth to people who deserve, specifically like the Hamas. Mr. Chair, as I've said earlier, that the ICC's mandate is to prosecute the individuals who have committed the crimes that I mentioned before. But it should also go on record that ICC has been quiet on certain states, even those who are non-state actors, in electing them to be prosecuted, and those who have even committed very grave issues or crimes that are really very, very important. So what we need to know is that as per now, ICC should not be selective.
Okay.
It is backing very well. If it backs, even the one who is at the Indian Ocean can hear. But when it comes to biting, why bite selectively? Why was the target mainly in African states? Because when it comes to Africa, it is very fast. Now, the members, remember, the non-state actors, those who are not signatory of the Rome Statute, it means that the ICC membership concentrates within the members who sign. And even if you indict an individual who may not probably maybe belong to those who signed the Rome Statute, how will you manage to arrest them? Because as we talk now, as Professor said, there is no police to enforce this. Now, they will wait for those individuals to go to the state parties, to those that sign, where they can be arrested. But we have seen this not being acted upon, because we've seen certain members who have been indicted, but they have not been arrested, even if they are in those member states who are signatories of the Rome Statute. So it is still a big challenge, and we hope that the ICC strengthens its capacity to enforce the indictment, especially those who are non-state actors. Otherwise, there is still a problem, because non-state actors will, at their own pressure, request that, no, we have someone here who committed crimes against humanity, please come. But now Israel, which is a non-state actor, Israel has not requested. They are just imposing that, no, let's go, let's put an indictment in Israel. Let's put in, no. So I think there's a big problem in regard to that. Thank you, Mr. Thank you.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.
The topic of today is about the implications of the ICC arrest warrant on the Israeli leaders against America's interests. I hope it does not end to be only a warrant, it ends in sentencing. I pray such happens. The ICC, it began its sittings in the year that I was born. I think if I was pretty mature enough, I would have advised them to act mature. Has the way they would present their agendas. Now, let me get straight.
Really acted immature.
They really act immature. They are not honest with their agendas as to what they are supposed to deliver to the entire world. No wonder the entire world still says the ICC, the ICJ, plus the UN, all are just a nonsense. Wastage of time, let us deal with our problems. Now, I'll get to the implications. The first one it will be is, it strains the US-Israel relations. Now, the US has historically been a strong ally of Israel, and ICC arrest warrant could put the US in a difficult position, potentially stressing the relationship between the two countries. Now, you know, US has been supporting this country both financially, militarily. You know, US like things where they can support and put a war, and for them they make their money. Now, this warrant comes to a person who is a very good friend to the US. Now, this leader will be forced to either stop the war, and if he stops the war, it's stopping the US from properly collaborating with this person. And the US is of a fact that since it has been having an upper hand in the actions of the ICC, and now the ICC is going against it by putting arresting warrants on the people it collaborates mostly with, it puts a stress between the two countries and also the ICC itself. Secondly, is that it will create a conflict with the US policy. So the US has opposed the ICC jurisdiction over Israel, and an arrest warrant could be seen as a challenge to US policy in the region. Remember, the ICC has jurisdiction on the countries that ratify to the Rome Statute. Now, for those that did not ratify, on the request of the ICC to those countries to give them an individual of who has committed crimes of genocide, crimes against humanity. Now, the US is questioning the jurisdiction. But remember, on the request, since this person is there, I think it's the leader, the US is like, this person is the leader, you have not gotten the permission to grant the arresting warrant. But remember, the arresting warrant is being requested to the state, not to the individual. And there's a difference between a state and an individual.
Yes, that's
so the arresting warrant is given to the state to give them that individual that they think is a criminal. Now, if the US is questioning the jurisdiction of the ICC, where do you think it leaves the ICC future activities? Don't you think we shall have something like the ICC is no longer functioning? Right now, you can see that it's functioning by putting the arresting warrant, because those are part of its duties. But in the future, will you hear more of the ICC? Thirdly, the potential diplomatic fallout can also happen due to this arresting warrant. And this can lead to diplomatic tensions between the US and other countries that support the ICC decision. Now, for countries like, let me say, South Africa, that support that decision, it can lead to a diplomatic fallout. Reason being, now you will become an enemy. You become an enemy to the US, and you start seeing the government that has been opposing and supporting the arresting warrants. You will see a change in government by force, by all means. And you see that things turn around the other way around, and you're like, what's happening? So I think, and my prayer is that this arresting warrant does not end only to be an arresting warrant, but sentencing should be done for justice to be received to other people. Thank you.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.
We are discussing on the implications of the warrant of arrest issued on the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, and his Defense Minister, Yoav Gallant. To me, I'm in support of that warrant issued on Prime Minister Netanyahu and his minister. Why? Because of the reason that I'm going to give. Many people have been displaced from their homes. Like I'd said, many people have lost lives and infrastructure has been destroyed in Gaza, which will take a very good time to rebuild. But we must ask ourselves, is this warrant of arrest going to be effective? The answer is no. Why is it not going to be effective? It is because the United States, the UK, Germany, and major powers in Europe are not in favor of it. So it is not going to stop the US from providing weapons to Israel, and it is not going to stop the UK from supporting Israel. But it is going to help us to understand the nature of the West, how they operate. Because we must remember that in May last year, when the ICC issued a warrant of arrest on President Putin of Russia, it was the United States of America, the UK, Germany, and major powers in Europe who came out and expressed their happiness because of that. But now they are here saying that that warrant of arrest on Israeli officials is illegal because that ICC has no jurisdiction on Israel. What does it mean? It means that they are not bothered about the people that are dying in Gaza. They are not bothered about the children that are not receiving education. They are not bothered about the women, the very old individuals that die every day, who are on their way trying to escape from the areas of conflict. I beg to submit.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.
In regard of the discussions or the topic, it is very political to me. I could say that. Why? Because when it comes to international relations or the international law, you find that the ICJ and the ICC are two different courts. But the issue is, if you didn't understand the world's affairs, it will be hard for you to understand the technicality that behind the ICC. Because as our professor said that they were issued a warrant arrest to al-Bashir, but it's not been done. Why? They will give you a reason that yes, the state actors were not what? We are not trying to be in line so that they can enforce. And you will not find that. That's political words. So you might have a words of which you will try to make it, and then you will get the intention of the public to the issue in table, but there is no reality on it that to be solved. And there is a big difference between international law and national laws. National laws have the jurisdiction whereby you can enforce if there is anything happen. We have the three organs of the government are clearly there. But when it comes to international law, there's no way you could force that. And you will not get that unless you back to the international relations, at least so that you will see the big people who are in the world. And for you to go back to them, it will take time. And it costs a lot of, call it the way you want to call it, that one.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.
I'm amazed that there is a young man who is even younger than the ICC. Because how old are you? 20-something? 22. Exactly. I did some quick maths. I said, yes, this young man is definitely younger than the ICC because it started 1st July 2002. So, and that's where we are. An institution that is already an adult has never solved the matter of genocide. And I think, right, Honorable Speaker, I remember we had that topic here. Why the United Nations organs are failing to solve genocide in the world. Darfur, one of the most painful. Because that is a situation where Arabs are killing fellow, and Muslims are killing fellow Muslims. Arabs killing black Africans, yet they are sharing the same religion. So genocide is not about religion. Well, in Israel, it could be Jews versus Muslims. But Darfur, let's use the example of Darfur. Muslims upon Muslims. And yet, when the United Nations issued the warrant against Bashir, they made a technical, calculated error, which they knew would make the warrant useless. You see, in the one in Israel, they have issued against the president, who is the prime minister, and the army, the defense minister. But still, there's a person who has not been indicted. That is the person on the ground. And that is what United Nations always does. In Darfur, they would not have indicted only Bashir. They would have indicted the Janjaweed militia commander. And if they had done that, the war in Sudan would not be there now. Because the war in Sudan now is that the Janjaweed commander in Darfur who was killing people is now the one who was overthrown, basically. So if the warrant was against the people on the ground, the commander, the army command, and then the militia, maybe the warrant would have worked. Because as other presidents were protecting Bashir, these other people here would not have been protected. So there is a lot of bad politics at the United Nations. They are not serious about human life. Then he said something about America. Why are they questioning the ICC? Is the point the other gentleman raised, young man there, said, you see, the world is coming to an end, and we are noticing it if you observe carefully. All world systems are collapsing on their face. Americans asked for a warrant against Putin because he was attacking Ukraine. Okay? Now, when a warrant is issued against another leader for attacking another group of people, they are opposing. So where is the principle? If you are concerned about human beings of Ukraine, how about the other humans? That brings us to the question that when you are discussing civilized nations, you don't include USA. These are people, hawana masimamo. They have no moral cardinals.
Professor, when we are discussing
yes.
When we are discussing about civilized countries,
yes,
America should not fall under that category.
Me, I don't consider, when I'm talking about civilized nations, I don't consider America a civilized nation. You see, what is the essence? What is the essence of the ICC warrant? To stop human suffering.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.
Ladies and gentlemen, on 31st of August, this is the Pan-African Awards. I'd like to implore you, to request you to support the efforts by buying dinner cards. They are here. Thank you so much. We meet you next Friday.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.